All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Let me just do a mic check really quickly. I should have done this before I actually booted up, but let's see. Yeah, that's the right microphone. All right, everyone. Well, welcome back. I haven't live streamed over here in a long time. It's been a while. I've been doing mostly shorts and some pre-records. I'm still working my way through uploading my interviews. Well, it's actually one interview, but I've cut it up into different parts. So I'm still working my way through uploading my the parts of my interview, the portions of my interview, the segments of my interview with Dr. Lee Phillips. We talked for about an hour and a half in downtown DC. So it's been a while since I live streamed over here, and there have been reasons for that. I'm trying to finish my book and just time. I'm in a season right now where it feels like there's just not enough time for anything. So tonight, we're going to keep it nice and tight. And I have a guest, a very special guest. Those of you who follow me over on my main channel know that that last week, in the aftermath of commencement at my alma mater, Johnson C. Smith University. Shout out to Marcus Williams. He says, you always shout out Michigan, but you never shout out Johnson C. Smith University. So last week was, the 25th reunion for my graduating class. We were the silver class. Shout out to the silver class, but also we were a part of commencement. And the valedictorian for the 2024 class was a remarkable young man named Saeed Dupree. And when he was giving his speech, first of all, I was surprised that he was a STEM guy and that he was, I don't want to make this political, but that he was a guy, because we don't hear a lot about young Black men excelling in their academics. So I was surprised to see that, but also he was a STEM guy himself, and the salutarian. They were both STEM guys. Salutarian. I think I said that correctly. But they were both STEM guys. So I was surprised about that. And I actually saw myself up there quite a bit when he was giving his speech. But as we talked about over on my original channel, he ran circles around me. And we're going to talk some more about that tonight. So I'm going to play the intro. And after that, I'll bring Saeed up. And for the individuals who have questions for us, the chat will be live. And he's going to talk to us about, last week, I asked him about his academic journey in general. And then he was gracious enough to agree to just talk about the science. So we're going to talk about the science tonight. So I'm going to play the intro, and then I'm going to bring him up, and then we will jump in. And if anyone wants to make a donation during this stream, my Cash App and PayPal are here. And if you're watching on the playback, you want to make a donation, you can do that as well. Okay. So I will see you on the other side of the intro.
So Anwar, I see you have the periodic tables on your chest.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that all about? Why are you walking around with a chemistry chart on your chest?
Well, Cheryl, so this channel is a STEM channel. So when I was conceiving of it and figuring out how to grow it, I figured I should have some t-shirts to go with it. So the periodic table is critical to most of the scientific fields. Welcome to Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. Science and technology are all around us all of the time, and there are always science and technology stories to tell. There are always science and technology stories to tell. That dialogue right there, that was from my discussion with Cheryl E. Pons from the DieTech Corporation. Cheryl is in the electric cars and electric vehicles sector, and I believe her company builds the charging stations. So she was nice enough to come over and have a Q&A with me about a year ago, ballpark about a year, and we talked science. She asked me, in the process of us talking science, why are you wearing a periodic table on your chest? Well, it's a science channel, and when you have a science channel, you want to get T-shirts that go along with that theme. So there we are. Okay, so before I bring my guest up, I last week I realized and I remembered that I wrote this, and this is appropriate with me publishing a book soon. But yeah, my professors at Johnson C. Smith University, they did a lot in terms of my career and my science journey. And so I wrote this blog post, well, right around 2016, or maybe a little bit after 2016. Well, the date is right here. I wrote this in 2019, and this is entitled "How My HBCU Led Me to My STEM Career." Because before I attended the University of Michigan, I attended Johnson C. Smith University. So this essay, which is in the description box, is a bit of a nod and a bit of paying homage to my professors at Johnson C. Smith University, because they pushed us. They genuinely cared about us as long as we were willing to do the work. And so I wrote this essay about this 5 to 6 professors who mentored me and taught me back in 1995 to 1999. So if you want to read that, that's below in the description box. Now, as I described, me and Saeed Dupree, we talked last Tuesday. I believe it was last Tuesday, 1 week ago. And we talked about his academic journey in its entirety and how he became valedictorian and what motivated him to put in the work to become valedictorian, because I wanted to tease out for in case we want to replicate Saeed Dupree's, I thought it would be cool to kind of tease out what he did and how he did it. So the link to that discussion is actually in the description box below. If you're so curious after watching this one, please go take a look at that and also give it a like. Speaking of which, I'm going to share this over there, and then I'm going to bring Saeed up, and to respect both our schedules, I'm going to start. Let's see. Let me just do this really, really quickly. I have a feeling, well, a lot of my subscribers are a gentleman named BGS Ibmore. He normally goes on around this time, so I suspect he's probably live right now. So let me just share this. Let's see. All right, so whoever wants to join us from over there can join us. All right, everyone. With that, I'm going to bring up my guest, Saeed Dupree, the valedictorian of the Johnson C. Smith University graduating class of 2024. I have some science questions for him, and he's going to show us some of his inventions and some things he created himself out of his own scientific curiosity and acumen. So with that, I'm going to bring Saeed Dupree back up to one of my platforms. Saeed, what's going on?
What's up?
Nothing much. Yourself?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Did you have a good holiday weekend?
Yes, I did. How about you?
Good. Yeah, it was good. It was good. All right. Well, everyone, once again, if you want to watch our first discussion, that the link is in the description box. So this one's going to be a little bit more focused on the actual science. I want to ask you about your academics a little bit and one of your research projects, and then you have some things to show us. But let's start with this. So we talked about K through 12, your K through 12 education a little bit, but let's go back. How did you develop a love for science? Where did your love for science in K through 12 come from?
Yeah, so I kind of always had a love for science, just because I know talk about superheroes a little bit in the other interview. Superheroes was a big inspiration for me. I was like the Marvel Spider-Man guy, and my cousin was Transformers, and so we always loved that type of stuff. And my mom was a pharmacist as well, and I've seen like she done a real impact on her patients, but I didn't really take it seriously. So I was just like, it's something I like, but it wasn't something I was pursuing. It was just like, this is cool. So, like I said before in other interview, when my aunt passed and I've seen like the disparities, that's when I start taking it seriously and start pursuing science really deeply. But at first it was just like something I just enjoyed because superheroes save the day and they're the cool person with powers. So I'm like, I want powers too. So that was just, science was always there for me.
Okay. Now, I left this out of our first discussion because I was just finishing up work, and your mind is a little bit groggy after you finish up work, but I'm a comic book guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Dr. T.S. Johnson. Comic books are very, very important vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
particularly for young men, while developing a love for reading, but also for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I was I started as a DC guy. I think my brother and my best friend, they were more Marvel guys. My brother kind of had one foot in the sand and one in the water, so he was both. But yeah, I was a DC guy, and yeah, the heroes. I mean, I was a Batman guy, so Batman was pretty much. I mean, he was always thinking of things, solving puzzles, creating things, and even Superman was an alien.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the villains usually came up with some sort of contraption or device to threaten the world, which is what the superheroes had to actually unpack and figure out how to defeat that puzzle. And then with the MCU, my favorite hero was Tony Stark's Iron Man, and his whole thing was science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Bruce Banner, he was a STEM guy. And then pretty much all of those, Black Panther, T'Challa, he was, in the movie version, shout out to Dr. T.S. Johnson, Shuri was a STEM girl. I guess in the comic books, that was his power as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different story. But my point is, all those movies, and I was explaining to somebody over the weekend that most of these movies, they look like fun and games, but they're all science-based. They're all relating to something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys, I'm going to ask you about your coursework in a second, but when I was at JCSU, I took an ecology class, and there was a professor named Dr. Joseph Fail Jr., rest in power. He passed away years ago, I think from pancreatic cancer, but he turned us on to a gentleman named Dr. Paul Ehrlich. Have you ever heard of Dr. Paul Ehrlich?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Dr. Paul Ehrlich, and I talked about him about 6 months ago here. He was an ecologist, a butterfly ecologist, and he studied populations. Okay. And so he wrote a book called The Population Bomb. Okay. So himself and others at that time in the early 70s, late 60s, right around the time of the baby boom, they were worried about the earth becoming overpopulated. Okay. So he wrote The Population Bomb, and that was warning against having too many humans on the planet. And so right now, I don't know if you know what's going on globally, but a lot of Western countries are below replacement. But my point is that that's what the Infinity Saga was about. And Thanos wanted to bring balance back to the universe, so he wanted to snap away half of all life in the universe. That's science based. Most people don't know that.
Yeah. The whole thing is based in science. Half the superheroes are like have super intelligence and building things, like you said. Batman, he builds all his stuff. He got bulletproof stuff. All this is like technology that you have to create, and it kind of unconsciously gets you into the reader or the audience into science, because like you want to be like that superhero because they're saving the day. So I really have appreciation and always will love superheroes, DC or Marvel or anything between. So
okay, one more, and I'm gonna acknowledge this commenter. The the Avengers movies, the Snyderverse before they wrecked it, that was all science based. The Man of Steel, I was thinking, and I think me and my brother were talking about this. The first part of that Man of Steel movie with Henry Cavill, that was a science fiction movie. That was and then when General Zod came to Earth and he launched his world engine and he started terraforming the Earth, that was all science based. Anyway, we can spend a whole hour talking about this. I do have a media channel, so we might have to meet up over there and kind of talk about this stuff in further depth. But I think the point is that to everyone, that comic books are not just guys running around in tights, like Adam West and Burt Ward. It's in a modern context. There's a lot of science in this stuff, and that's a motivator for a lot of young people, young men in particular. That's a motivator for getting involved with this in these fields. All right. Now that that's out of the way, and you were a Marvel guy, Spider-Man.
I'm more Marvel, but I love DC too. I love it.
Okay. You know what? Before we hop off, that was another one of my favorite parts of Spider-Man No Way Home. Is that not only did they get all three Spider-Men together, but they were at one point in the lab all together working on stuff and doing chemistry experiments and trying to come up with cures for the bad guys. Anyway, but okay, so you double majored. For everybody, our original interview was in the description box. You double majored in biology and chemistry. Talk about your course load and what you took on that journey.
So actually, to be valedictorian is a certain set of rules. You have to go there all 4 years, so you can't be a transfer student. You have to take more than 15 credits, and
per semester.
More than 15 credits per semester, and then it was one more criteria: can't drop any classes, fail any classes, and so I took around 16 to 18 credits throughout my whole 4 years. I actually came in with some credits because the program I was in high school at North Mecklenburg High School, they allowed me to get some credits in there. So I came in, that allowed me to actually double major. And I started off with, the general biology 1, general biology 2, general chemistry 1 and 2. Then, you would go into cell biology or cellular biology, organic 1, organic 2. I took in physics 1 and 2. And then after organic, I had to take biochemistry. Then after biochemistry is analytical chemistry 1 and 2 and physical chemistry 1 and 2. For biology side, I had to take microbiology, ecology as well. I'm trying to think of some others. I have my transcript right here, so let me pull it up here.
Okay. Well, I just want to give the audience a feel for, what all went into that. And it's funny, you should when you mentioned the first 2 rules, I broke those first 2 rules because I transferred in and I dropped. All right, everybody, drum roll. I dropped calculus because I did really well in pre-cal 2, and that was Dr. Alexander. Yeah, I did really well in pre-cal 2. Got an A in that. And then with the load that I had that next term, I changed the formula. And Dr. Alexander pointed this out to me. He said, when you were taking pre-cal 2, he said, you were in my office every day. And then he said, for cal 1, he said, you were not in my office. And so long story short, as opposed to taking the D or whatever that was going to be, because it wasn't going to be an A,
Yeah,
I dropped. So there was no way I was going to be valedictorian. Greetings, Giyagami. Giyagami says, greetings, Dr. Dunbar, and to your guest, Saeed, and everyone. He says, did you take biochemistry 1 and 2? I don't know if that's to me or to you, but I took one as an undergraduate. I took 1 semester of biochemistry. What about you, Saeed?
Yeah, 1 semester of biochemistry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let me go back to my questions here. Let's see.
Yeah, but I took a lot of classes, but one of my favorites, I would say, was definitely the physics.
Mm-hmm. That was a question I was thinking about earlier. So yeah, you got to do the physics. Did you cruise through it, or did you?
So physics 1, that was actually the lowest grade I've had throughout my whole undergrad. It was like a 91, and I was scared because I was trying to be valedictorian, and I needed like a 80 on the final, like 85, 80 on the final. So I was stressing out, and I got the grade I needed to pass. But that class was so hard because it's a lot of math. It's like ramps. I hate the ramps. I'm sorry. The ramps. A lot of like Newton-based laws, stuff. So like force, the second law of force equals mass times acceleration, stuff like that. And that was like, it killed me, but I got through it. And then physics 2 was my favorite. I got like a 99 in there, and because it was like electricity, like the stuff I like to build, like light, electricity, magnetism, mirrors, and it was just like a joy because it was like I could actually see like what was going on, whereas physics 1 is more pen to paper, so I didn't really enjoy that as much.
Okay, yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah, there were 2 semesters of that, physics 1 and physics 2. I think I did equally. Well, I didn't get a 99, but I did well, and that is a fun chapter. The resistance, current, voltage. That's fun stuff.
Yeah, that's my love right there.
Okay, all right. Well, let's talk about your research a little bit. It sounds like you worked closely with Dr. Brown. I haven't met Dr. Brown. I'd like to meet Dr. Brown someday. Talk about that partnership and how it started, as it led to quite a bit of work on your end in terms of research and data generation.
Well, we started off COVID. So for the audience who doesn't know, I started off in 2020, and that was in the middle of the pandemic. And so the classes was like online, just how we are right now. And I didn't know really none of my teachers like that. And so a teacher that I had biostatistics, and she had like some research going on. Her name is Dr. Wynn. And I was scared because I didn't know, but I was like, I emailed her back like, yeah, I want to do the research. And through her, I had to work with Dr. Brown because she had all the instrumentation that I needed to conduct the research. And so the first semester I did research only online, and Dr. Wynn had to teach me how to do research through Zoom. Then once the next semester came and we got to be in person, I met Dr. Brown, and I actually got to do the actual experiment in person with the instrumentation that we used. And that first research project was the gelatinization of rice. And that project was only looking at how to cook rice and when does the rice cook. That's all I was looking at. And so that was my first research project. And then from that, Dr. Brown knew that I was a good student to do research with. So she was like, Saeed, let's do some more research with my program, the Impure program. And this was program she just thought of out the blue. There was nobody a part of it. There wasn't no research going on with it. And so me and her collaborated. I knew some students because it was COVID as well. So she didn't know that many students. And so I knew some students. And I had the drive to do the research. And so from there, we went to conferences doing her research in cellulose nanofibers. Conferences, made the website together. We made all the social medias, YouTube, LinkedIn, all that through me and her and my friends or my classmates that I recommended should do the program with us. And now anybody can join the program if they have a passion for research. But in the beginning, we had to make it small because we had to launch everything. We made sure that we was getting our brand right. But now anyone, it doesn't matter if you have a low GPA at JCSU, if you're passionate about science, any major as well, if you're passionate about science, we created a program to basically for you to do research.
Okay. I'm going to read Giyagami's comment here. Giyagami, appreciate your engagement here. Please keep commenting and ask any questions if you have them. He says, an important thing about STEM curricula is to be able to plan and map them correctly in a proper sequence, prerequisites included when it is not preset for you. Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. And everyone is different. I still wanted to be a medical doctor. So I made sure that I looked at the prerequisites that medical school needs for you to be able to apply. Because they won't let you apply if you don't have certain amount of math, English. So I talked to my advisor, and my advisor, freshman year, I was talking to my advisor about this. My advisor kind of shocked, I knew not knew everything, but I was like, I want to take this. I want to make sure I take this. I want to make sure I take this. And so, and you can search anything. That's how I've really learned the stuff I know is school, but it's also just looking up stuff that I'm curious about. So I looked up what's the prerequisites for medical school, and I told my advisor I need to take these classes, and they helped me out and set it up to what I needed it.
Okay, Saeed, let me ask you this. Were there quite a few of you in your class who wanted to go to medical school? There's a reason I'm asking.
So there's people who want to go.
Yes.
But there's a lot that, has to go into it. It's a lot of stressful stuff. I'm the only one who actually applied this cycle.
Really?
Yeah, I'm the only one of my classmates that I know of applied this cycle. Other than that, I know someone who's going to apply next cycle. But it's really stressful. You have to go through a lot. We don't know a lot. I had the opportunity to do an internship with Atrium Health, and they taught me, how to apply, what to look for, do this and that. And I had a lot of good mentors. But if you don't have that experience, and before I had that experience, I didn't know anything about that. And it's easy to just give up because you're like, this is too much. So just being having your motivation in the back of your head, I don't need to do this, look up stuff, ask people. You can't be scared to ask people. And that allowed me to apply straight out, and hopefully I get in. And if I don't, I'm gonna be right there next cycle.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason I asked that is because when I in my group, that was now that there are a ton of things you can do with your science training. Mm-hmm. Medical school is one avenue, but it's the most popular avenue.
Yeah.
To go down, but it's also, as you described, it's also very, very competitive.
Yeah.
And so I remember there was a group. I think they graduated the year before me, but they were prepared. There were a group of girls. They were prepared, and I think all three of them or four of them, however many of them there were, they all went to medical school. And then there was another group who wanted to go, but they weren't prepared to go, and I'll say her name, Dr. Sutton Haywood. I remember she told us, she said, you all you all say you want to go to medical school, but you don't have a clue of what it takes, to get into medical school. So
Yeah.
I,
And
I think some students took it as discouragement, but it was also tough love, and it was no, I won't say also, but it was tough love. It was her saying, look, this is the standard. There's a standard for this. And if you all aren't going to perform up to the standard, then you're not going to get in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying we definitely have to teach people because we don't know. And really, in the crazy statistic, I don't know if you know this, but only 5% of African Americans that are actually medical doctors. So it's few of us already. And so just not knowing or being discouraged. And I mean, sometimes you need tough love because some people just like say they want to do something, but don't really like have the passion for it. They just want to do it because their parents said it or it makes a lot of money. But
or they saw it on TV.
Yeah, it's on TV. And it does take a lot, but if we teach people, I feel like a lot of more of us would be able to go through it because it is a lot, and we don't know a lot, and it's few of us. And so anybody at school who asks and was serious, I would go through the application with them. Even though I might not get in, I was like, hey, I might not get in this time, but this is what I did, and this is how I went through the application. And anybody in the stream who want to help, you can email me or message me. I will help you apply or read through your personal statement because that's something that, I had help. People help me, and I also had to do some stuff alone. And I know it's a long road and it's a stressful road. And so anybody who needs help, I'm here.
Okay. All right. So you started working with Dr. Brown, and you just mentioned your rice experiments. Mm-hmm. So let's just take a quick walk through that. I have this queued up. Because I think you have some cool data in there.
Yeah.
And this is a science channel, so we should be going over data at least a little bit.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
This is my passion project because this was fully funded by me, and my dad allowed me to get some of the researchers as well. And I've done this whole project I've done by myself. Dr. Brown, Dr. Wynn read over it, and made sure that I was using the instrumentation right. But other than that, this is a project by myself. I wrote, I got the experiment data, and I got the materials. And this is a continuation of my first research project freshman year. And so this is really a real passion project, and I'm really proud of it as well.
Okay. Before we jump down to, so this was yours,
mm-hmm.
Meaning that this was all your idea. Yes.
So the first research project was Dr. Wynn's idea, which was just looking at the cooking of rice.
Okay.
And so the idea of using lemon juice and kefir was my idea to continue the project further.
Okay, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you get the idea for the lemon juice and the kefir? And what is kefir?
It's it's milk, right?
Yes.
You put a certain some type of bacteria in there, and it basically eats up the lactose in the milk, and it turns it into lactic acid, and it makes it more viscous.
Okay.
And so that's kind of like it's like a kind of alternate dairy product, kind of, that has lactic acid in it.
Okay, interesting. All right. Well, do you want to say just a few words about the study design, and then we'll look at these three plots, and then I don't want to.
Yeah. So what I used was the instrumentation I used was the differential scanning calorimetry, and as you see on the screen, that it has the y-axis is heat flow, and that's basically how much heat is going into the material, and then over a certain amount of temperature. So I use the differential scanning calorimetry on the rice, And so it's cooking the rice because you want to have that temperature increase. And the instrumentation can tell you when the rice cooks. And so what I did was I used water. I soaked the rice in water because that's how we cook. Well, that's not how I cook rice. I just put some water in, and then I put the rice in and let it cook. And then I put citric acid. I soaked the rice in citric acid in water mixture, in kefir and water mixture. And I soaked it for like 45 minutes, and I put it into the machine or the instrumentation, and it gave me these graphs right here. And so what the first graph is telling us is, so this right here is one graph of, can you scroll down a little bit just so I can see the figure?
Sure.
Yeah, so there's 3 different figures. The first one is soaked in water. The second one, this one I think is soaked in kefir, and then the third one is soaked in
the lemon juice.
And what we seen was that when it's cooked in just water, it was like it started to cook or gelatinize at 80 degrees around. So we can say the 15, the green line was like, that's around like 82-ish, 80. And so then when we go down to the
82 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
Yes.
Or Celsius. 82 degrees Celsius. And then when we go down to the kefir, it actually decreased, I think about 20 actually. This one, it decreased about, to like, what was that, 75? So
yeah, it's about like about 75. So down about 5 to 7 degrees.
Yeah. And then if you go to lemon juice, it also decreased
much further, but that's about 20 units.
Yeah, 20 units. So you could say about 65-ish, 60. I don't know the exact data. I have to look at data set, but 62, 63, 64, 65. And so that's a 20 degree, on average, a 20 degree decrease in how the rice actually cooks. So I actually seen that the rice cooked faster in lemon juice. And this is really an important project because if, say, and someone who wants to cook rice for a large group of people and need to cook it fast, they can cook it and save money by using lemon juice. Or if you want to, let's just what's happening with rice is the starch is getting the bonds and starch is getting broken down, and then water comes in and swells it up. And so, but that process can also let the rice be like a certain gel for foods, like for texture purposes or holding something together. Starch can be used as a gel. And so if you want to make that gel faster and save more energy on a large scale production, you can use lemon juice or the kefir as well, even though it had slightly less efficient results. The kefir can also be used as well, and it will give you more of a milkier taste. So that's why the research was important. That's what I think was important about the research.
Okay, so there's in an uncooked rice grain, there's a starch in there, which is a complex sugar. And then so when we eat it all the time, so we don't always think about what's happening. But when the water gets in there and turns that starch into more of a gelatin.
Yeah, so the heat.
That's what caused the rice to go ahead.
Yeah, so the heat that you so put on the stove, you heat it up. The heat actually breaks some of the bonds in the starch, and then that water since the bonds broke, it allows the water to come into that rice, into the starch, and allows it to swell up, and that's the gelatinization effect of rice.
Okay, but these two chemicals you added
sped up that process.
Sped up the process, lowered the temperature needed.
And I think it's because it's acidic. And so that acidity kind of allow for basically the reaction to speed up a little bit more. And I didn't know if it was or not. And some experiments, some science people, well, most scientists know, but people who are like not scientists don't know that science come with failures. You gotta fail sometimes. And so I didn't know if this was gonna work, but I wanted to see and test it out, and it actually worked. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and you can present both. So.
Okay. Let me ask you this, and then we'll move on to your 3D printing.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any learning curves for you? Any points that you really had to kind of nail down? Like I know for me, I did a little bit of research at UNC Charlotte when I was at JCSU, and then when I went to Michigan, that's when I really had to learn. Okay, you have to be consistent with everything. Okay, because we're trying to get something, we're trying to get a system to work that we can publish on, but you have to really be consistent with your reagents, with your note taking, with your reproducibility. Were there any things you had to learn to get something like that to work?
Yeah, so actually this experiment in particular, I had to run the experiment probably 4 times. And that is because either when you soak it in for 45 minutes, some might I'll take it out, put it in the machine, but the machine only runs one test at a time. And so what I came to the problem was that I'm letting some stuff soak for longer periods than others. Because I soak all of them 40, and I was like, soaking Word, soaking this, soaking that, and do all 45 minutes. Well, I learned, so I had to run it, keep running, and I learned that, okay, soak this for 45 minutes, put it into the machine, let that run, then start the other process and soak for 45 minutes instead of soaking them all together, because then others are soaking for longer than others. It's not, and you want to keep your variables low. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So just, trial and error is a big part of science. Something other than that research was the NASA research. The drone actually short-circuited, and I still haven't had time to repair it. And so it's always going to be failures, but it's how you get back up and coming up with new ideas, talking to your professor, talking to your other research classmates, and you can get some good results. Just keep trying and run experiments.
Yep. It's a process the general public doesn't really know a lot about, but getting to something that works, it requires trying something multiple times.
And I even had research where the first time I ran it, I was like, this looked good. And then I ran it 2 more times and don't even look the same anymore. And I'm like, what was going on that first time? I got to reproduce that the first time. But,
the reproducibility, that. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to, we're at 43 minutes. Show us some of the things you've been working on.
Yeah. So.
And these are things that were separate from your coursework.
Yeah, separate from my coursework. This is the Impure program, or just my personal projects. And so the first picture I want to show y'all is, this is my Impure group. And this is Dr. Brown right here, and this is her classroom. She's the organic chemistry professor now at Johnson C. Smith.
Which one is Dr. Brown?
The one right here in the middle.
Okay.
And she, we started this program together, and we got a bunch of people in the group now. Some of them graduated. Some of them are still there. And so the next picture I want to show you, this is actually me presenting the Rice Project at American Chemical Society Conference, New Orleans 2024. I think it was in March. I presented the Rice Project. So I did a project with NASA, and they gave me a $1,500 budget to create a drone.
Okay.
This is my blueprint of how I wanted to create the drone. And let me show you now how I executed that.
So, sorry to interrupt, but so you applied for money from NASA.
Yes.
So NASA has grant funding to send to undergraduates and.
Yeah. So let me come out and talk a little bit about that. So it's a program called NASA Minds, and basically it's only for I think it's for HBCUs and no, is it? I think it's for minorities, more for minorities, but I think any college can do it, but more for minority serving institutions. And you apply. So Dr. Wynn, one of the professors I work with, she saw it in her email and she was like, Saeed, come up with an idea for this NASA. And I sat there for about an hour and I came up with making a drone. And the drone is actually going for low pressure flight, low air pressure. So
okay, so you gotta unpack that for us, because when I see drones flying, I just see little robots flying around. What's the, so are you saying different drones are built for different things?
Yeah, so on Earth we have air, and so we breathe, and so that's how drones fly. They push up on that air, and it kind of makes that lift,
like a helicopter.
Yes, but on Mars, so the drone is supposed to be for Mars. Mars has, I think, don't quote me on this, but 1%. It's around 1 or 2% of actual air compared to Earth atmosphere.
Yes.
And so you have to create the drone you want to still surveil Mars, and NASA actually already did this, created the drone to fly on Mars. But there's a problem because the air is 2% of Earth, so you have to create it a certain way. And so I wanted to see if I can use 3D printing to create a more low budget, because they spent millions of dollars on their drone. I wanted to see if an astronaut goes to Mars and say their $1 million drone, breaks down, can they 3D print and make a drone real quick? So I wanted to make like a makeshift drone to surveil the areas of Mars. And how I was going to tell if it could fly in Mars atmosphere was I used part of that budget to buy a vacuum chamber, and I was going to fly the drone into the vacuum chamber and mimicking, a lower air pressure. So I created the drone, and before I even put it in the vacuum chamber, it flew for like 2 seconds, and then it short circuited, smoke everywhere, and I was scared because I was in the lab, but it didn't catch on fire, just with smoke. But I never got a chance to rebuild it, just because the paper was due 2 weeks before. And so I thought rewind back, I thought of the project 30 minutes, but I had to create a team. And they wanted me to have a team. I was doing this stuff by myself. And they was like, you have to have a team to continue. And so I interviewed some people at my school, came up with 2 people. They helped me with the paper. They helped me with the coding a little bit, because I was not that good at coding.
Mm-hmm.
And I created the drone, and we submitted the paper for NASA, and we worked with NASA, and NASA invited me also to a conference after that as well. So it was a great experience working with NASA. And let me show you again the drone that I created for them before everything short-circuited and it was still working.
So does that mean you all had to write a code for the drone?
Yeah, so
wow.
Yeah, so it's something called, I forgot the app, but it's on my computer right now. But it's an app. You plug it in. So I don't know if you can see my cursor, but right here is like a little USB. I forgot which one. I don't think it's C, but a type of USB port. And you plug it in. You plug it in your computer, and you can actually. It's an actual software you can use. So it's not as like you're just typing like code language. It's like, okay, the software codes it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's behind the software is real code, and you can like kind of control how the motors work, and how much power is getting into the drone, and also your camera is in here and stuff like that. and your receiver, which is down here, which goes to the controller. That's where you can control the drone. All that you can do code that for in the software. And so my teammates helped me out with that. And you see right here, this is 3D printed. So I was trying to get in this frame right here is 3D printed as well. So I was trying to use all 3D printing parts and all the electronics. So only electronics and 3D printed parts. I didn't execute it as well as I wanted to because of the time constraints. We only had about 6 months, and I never created a drone, never knew anything about a drone. I just knew that I wanted to do this, and so I tried. So it was a lot of trial and errors, and I'm going to rebuild it, and next time it's going to be better. And the drone is called Limitless, and so it's going to be Limitless 2.0, I call it. And then...
So, Saeed, before you go on, so did you purchase the parts, or did this come as a kit?
Yeah, so NASA gave us the $1,500 budget, and YouTube University looked it up how to create a drone. I looked, did extensive research. I created a budget, and some of the parts I got off Amazon, some of the parts I got off like third party, and I made sure they was all compatible, and it worked for a little bit. So yeah, it was half Amazon and half third party stuff. And then the 3D printer we actually have at the school now. So one of my teammates actually taught me how to 3D print. And so it was really a learning experience. And I also had to work with like the dean's assistant because the budget don't go to me, it goes to the school. So then I had to work with the school, and I learned a little bit about the behind the scenes of the school, how the school gets money, and how you can get the money that you gain from the school. So it was a lot of learning. It was a learning experience for sure.
Okay. Now, well, I guess this is a good transition to 3D printing. You want to talk to us about 3D printing?
Yeah. So I learned 3D printing from my classmate who I picked in the NASA project, and he taught me, the basics. And I learned on YouTube to learn a little bit more advanced. And there's really two ways you can 3D print nowadays. You can either, so it's the STL file, that's like the print, that's how you get your model. And you either can create that in a free website called Thinkercad, or you can go to a website called Thingiverse, and they'll give you the STL model to print. So say something like the Black Panther mask. I didn't model this. I went to Thingiverse. They already had this. All you need is 3D printer. So I went to Thingiverse, got this, and I said, put it into it's another software you have to go to through your computer, put that on USB, and then put that into your 3D printer, and you can print. And so same thing with this one. The Spider-Man model, I did that as well. Now this one.
So the things, because I have no experience with 3D printers. So there's a program or an input that tells the printer what to print, basically. Yes? Yeah. There's a model that tells it this is what you. Okay.
And it prints layer by layer, so it's like slices.
Is that plastic?
Yeah, it's PLA, polylactic. Right.
Okay, so someone has to design what the model. What it's gonna?
Yeah, you have to design it. You yourself can design it, or you can get the design that's already pre-made off certain websites or wherever linked. Now this right here, I created. I call this the best mom ever box. It's like a box, and it's BME best mom ever. And it's like you put her jewelry and stuff in here, her rings and stuff in here. I don't know if I can see that, but
I think I can. Yeah, BMB.
Yeah, and so. That's something I created. Let me go to sharing some more stuff for a second. I want to show you something else I personally created. So the Black Panther mask is something that I got off Thingiverse. But this right here in the back, I actually designed this myself. The windows, the clock, and everything. I designed myself. And then I put it into the 3D printer to print.
So That means would you draw it, or did you import that image from someplace else?
So it's let me go back now. So it's basically a website, and it's different levels to it. I just use Tinkercad because it's the most. It's like for kids, kind of. And so you just have like shapes, and I draw too, so I know how to draw. So
Mm-hmm.
you have shapes, you could draw. So you know how to draw a shape or lines, you can draw. So just get a square, stack the square, or stack a circle, and you can make whatever you really want. It's really how much time you have and what you can think of in your head, or you can just draw it out real quick and then put it into the Tinkercad website. It's not. If you look up how to use Tinkercad, I promise you it'll take 2 hours and you will know how to design 3D models.
Okay, Tinkercad.
Yeah.
CAD for computer animated design.
Yes, I think so.
My brother is an artist, and he was doing architecture for a little while, so I remember AutoCAD.
Yeah, AutoCAD I think is another one. It's a bunch of CADs out there, but I think Tinkercad is like made for kids, and I'm pretty new to it. Well, I'm like intermediate now, but back then I was new to it, and so that was the first thing I picked up, and I still use it because it's just really easy. It has an easy interface and you can create easy stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Saeed, we're coming up on an hour.
Mm.
Do you have anything else? Well, what do you foresee? I mean, because you just graduated from JCSU, you're a valedictorian, you're seeking entry into medical school.
Mm.
The 3D printing, what do you foresee being future applications for that? So
honestly, 3D printing, they're actually 3D printing organs right now, which just sounds crazy. And
you said 3D printing workshops?
Organs, like
organs.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And so they don't use plastic. They use actually so I don't know everything about it, but it's still like development research. But I'm pretty sure they use like cells, actual cells. And it's the same process. Instead of plastic, layers on layers of plastic, they use layers and layers of cells. And they're actually having research to 3D print organs. And that could be a way to, not have to do transplants or not have to do, a pacemaker or whatever. You just get a new heart or whatever the case may be. So that's definitely an application. Equipment as well. I mean, some things, in healthcare, a lot of things have to be sterile. And so, if something like plastic, I don't think it's probably a one-time use for plastics. Say like a pipette or something like that. You probably only use that one time and then you have to throw it out. And so that costs money. But if you just 3D print that pipette, that plastic pipette, that's cents on the dollar and you can get it right there. So instant materials. And 3D printing right now is really slow. Like Black Panther mask probably took about 2 days.
Wow.
So it's a process but they're now making things where it can be instant, probably a couple seconds. So it's a lot of stuff you can use for it. But I personally want to use it for creating healthcare devices, something that can help out, something that we need. And I haven't thought of anything yet, but a lot of the stuff you need coding for. So like a thermometer, like the ones that they have, and you can like scan your forehead and then they tell you the temperature, your body temperature. That's all like the plastic. So you can 3D print and make it, but then you have to code the circuit board. So that's what my next step is, to learn how to code, so I can code the stuff, so I can make a healthcare instrumentation that we can actually use. That's
okay. All right. Well, Saeed, that's all I've got. Do you have anything else you want to say to the audience, or?
Oh, did you want me to show the motor and the?
Sure.
Yeah, so I'll just show the last thing, because this one I'm really proud of. This is the motor I created. and out of cardboard box, 3D print, 3D PLA, and some copper, and actually moves on his own. You see it sparking a little bit. So
yeah.
So it took me about a month of trial and error until I finally got it right. And so that was something I was really proud of.
Okay. So a motor, and that was using 3D
print materials, cardboard, Amazon box, and some copper to so the power source. So basically you can use a battery. I use the power source, but you use a battery and electricity comes in and basically does that electromagnetic induction, which is basically, kind of makes one side north and then it's a magnet on the other side. It kind of repels it or attracts it, repels and attracts, and makes it spin. It's a little complicated. I'm trying to make it simplified, but that's basically how it works.
Okay. Has that mechanism been used before?
Yeah, so like a drill.
Yeah,
that's like what they use. Probably not now because I think that's a DC motor. They kind of use a lot of AC motors now, but drills used to have that DC motor, like a motor in your boat. You know how at the propellers at the back, and they kind of crank it up or whatever. I think that's something else that it's used for. It's used for a lot of things. It's a good tool, and it moves on its own. That's pretty cool to me.
Okay. Well, what's fascinating is that now we didn't have YouTube when I was your age, and we didn't have 3D printing when I was your age. So I was just thinking that it's fascinating that you're doing all this and nobody's making you do it. And no one's holding a gun to your head and say, hey, do all this stuff. You're doing this because you're curious and you're doing this out of a level of industriousness. Mm-hmm. So it's fascinating. Afro SF INZ Comics 78. I finally said it. He says, and I appreciate this. He says, this is a great stream. Bravo, Dr. Dunbar. Saeed is a really smart kid. He's in his early 20s, so technically he's not a kid. Well, I guess 20 years younger than me, but technically he's not a kid.
I'll take it.
You get the point. He's a smart young man.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, how many young? I mean, there are probably quite a few, but we don't see a lot of young black men.
Yeah,
doing the 3D printing, creating motors.
Yeah,
doing this type of thing.
I will say that it comes with support. My dad, my mom, my family all supports me. If I wanted to do something, I don't have the financial ability to do it. My family would come in and make the money up to build it. And
wow.
Yeah, they really believe in me, and that's when I say the motivation is for my family, and then once they give to me, it's I just want to give more back to them. So
yeah,
really helping each other out, and they really think I can go far places, and I know I can too, and so they believe.
Okay, he says, anyone under 25 is a kid.
I'll tell you, I want to be a kid as long as I can.
There you go. You go. Folks today are growing up too fast.
Yeah, and I want to start kind of make it a full circle. We started off with superheroes. A lot of this stuff I build is it kind of comes from the superheroes too, because they build, Spider-Man built his own spider flu, whatever. It's I want to build something like that too. I want to, be the next superhero, even though it's, superhero's not real, but, kind of.
Well, Saeed, I was talking with some people over the weekend. The military, the National Science Foundation, there are things that they have and that they've already been working on. And I think if we in the general public saw the things that they have and the projects they've been working on, I think a lot of us would be surprised. I mean, there was a point at which, the when the pandemic started, I did a series of I made content talking about 5G because that was one of the conspiracy theories. One of my cousins was talking to me about how the 5G was causing the COVID. So I did some research on it, and I learned. Well, I agree with that, but I learned that they were working on all these things back in the 1980s. So they were already mapping out 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and we only know about it when they roll it out and they release it to us. So I'm saying that you talked about Spider-Man web shooters. They've probably already got somebody working on that, and they probably already got the technology in process somewhere.
Yeah, going to Oak Ridge, that's highly secure. And, I didn't see everything, but one thing I did see was they 3D printed a whole car.
Okay, before we wrap up, this will be the last thing because we're just over an hour. Talk about Oak Ridge, the Oak Ridge Laboratories, why that's significant, and what it was like to go.
So it's in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was an amazing experience. Basically the workshop went to a workshop. It was basically for getting more underrepresented communities to see Oak Ridge and work with Oak Ridge. So when we went up to the gate, it was military, and they had to show our IDs. Like, are y'all supposed to be here? And we was like, yeah, we supposed to be here. Had to give our names, ID, and so it was like I didn't know all this stuff was like guarded and nothing. I'm like, I think we just drive in the facility, and so that was cool. And it's like a long stretch of land. I had to drive for like 5 minutes just to get to each facility. And so we first went in, had lunch, talked a little bit, and then we seen the world's fastest supercomputer. They basically explained to us what a supercomputer was. It's just like multiple computers stacked on one another, and it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. They showed us like how they 3D printed a car. And the coolest part was the Hadron Collider, or the particle accelerator. I like to say particle accelerator, but they say Hadron Collider. And so it basically speeds up, subatomic particles, and crash them into each other, or do different stuff, or crash it into certain things to study them. And it's all like research, and it's highly guarded because they're on the newest thing. A lot of people can get hacked. We had to hide our badges because people would take pictures of the badges and try to replicate the badges. So it was just a cool experience, and you feel like wow, like, because outside you feel like science is cool, but you feel like not a lot of people appreciate it. But inside the Oak Ridge, you like everyone about science. It's highly secure. Your science is top priority that you can't get out. Literally, they do like I don't know if I'm spoiling too much their business now, but they do like emails, like I forgot what they call it, but it's like fake emails to their employees, and they're like to see if they would go into hackers' emails, whatever, kind of testing their employees. So it's like, this is highly secure stuff, and it was an amazing experience, and it taught me a lot about science and the importance of science.
Yeah, well, I think one significance of this is number one, you were fortunate to go because I've never been to the Oak Ridge Laboratories, but there are whole parts of our society. I'm thinking about the inner cities who don't even know that there is an Oak Ridge laboratory, and so again, the general public. When you think anything about COVID and the Wuhan labs, we're so far removed. People are in their day-to-day lives. They're on social media. People are not thinking about, okay, there's an Oak Ridge laboratory where they have particle accelerators, and the general public is just so disconnected from a lot of this stuff. And it's there, and unless you have a science or a military background, or you're connected with the president or somebody, you don't know that that's there. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what new gadgets are coming out. You just don't know. So
I didn't even know, and I love science. I didn't even know that was a thing. I was like, I seen Oppenheimer, but I didn't really think about national labs. I didn't know that's a thing right now. I think that's.
And they've got these national labs in Idaho and Oak Ridge and New Mexico and all places. I mean, your average city dweller wouldn't want to go to. and has no idea that stuff is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone, we're just wrapping up, but please smash that like button if you're coming in, and if you want to if you're watching on the playback and you enjoyed this, and you want to make a donation, my Cash App and PayPal are here. Saeed, yeah, do you have anything else at this time?
Good. I enjoyed my time here, and I'm happy everyone tuned in to the event.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll have to. I'm curious to see where your path is going to lead you. And yeah, if you ever want to come back and talk science, or if you're working on something else and you want to talk about it, yeah, my door is always open.
Okay, for sure.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and wind down like I did last time. You can hang out, or you can hop off if you want. But
okay.
All right, everyone. I'm gonna looks like he's hopping off. I'm gonna wrap this up. I have to go into the office and make the donuts tomorrow. Aaron Cleary thought that was hilarious when I said that. That's a 1980s reference to Dunkin' Donuts. Gotta go make the donuts, and I have to make a phone call when this stream is over. Thank you all for watching. If you're watching on the playback, again, please like, share, and subscribe, and share this out. When I was an undergraduate, when I was graduating, we did not have 3D printing. We didn't have YouTube, so that you could go look these things up and build motors and build drones and Black Panther masks. We didn't have this stuff 20 years ago. And it's impressive that he had the curiosity and the motivation to do that. I think the other big piece he mentioned is that he said his family was willing to invest in some of his projects, which I don't know. Yeah, I don't know a lot of families that would, unless they're wealthy and they're well off. I don't know a lot of families that would be willing to invest in a young person's science project. Maybe I just don't know those families, but I thought that was remarkable as well. But he was the valedictorian of the 2024 Johnson C. Smith University class, and he's a STEM guy. And I thought it would be cool to have him come over here and just talk about some of the science that he's done. And well, we'll keep an eye on Saeed and see what happens with him. And I hope to have him come back again soon. But that's what I do over here. I talk science, and yeah, I also write. So if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing to my Big Words LLC newsletter. Thank you to everyone who has signed up. This link is in the description box below, along with my first interview with Saeed from last week and the essay I wrote about my HBCU and what those professors did for my science career. For my readers out there, shout out to Diamond Dave. There aren't a lot of readers on YouTube. There's a 2-paragraph greeting, and there's a subscription button there at the bottom. You just click that and it takes you there, and you sign up if you feel so inclined. And I think that's a wrap for me. So everyone, thank you for watching. If you're watching on the playback, again, please like, share, and subscribe. The next uploads will probably be the next parts of my Lee Phillips interview, though there are some current events and topics that I want to create content on. A lot of people are taking notice of population decline. It's starting to get out into the ether a little bit more. And I heard 2 buzzwords, pronatalists, 2 new buzzwords for my vocabulary, pronatalists and anti-natalists. Pronatalists and anti-natalists. So look out for that. More climate stuff, more new and novel topics. So with that, everyone, enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you for those who tuned in, Giyagami, and I'm going to try to say it again, Afro SF Ians Comics 78. Thank you for your participation. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your night. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best, Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.